Where do you learn how to implement Indigenous jurisdiction? Is there such a thing as an Indigenous jurisdiction university? We're trying to build one.
Professor Tamari Tau, the director of the Ngaitahu Research Center, met Manny Jules from over here at Tulo, I believe in Bozeman, Montana, like 10 years ago. And I don't think it was a purposeful meeting. Out of that has developed this amazing relationship.
I always had an underlying philosophy that the issues that we work with here in Canada are really international in scope, and that it ultimately required Indigenous people from around the world working together.
The partnership is really between Manny, Mike Laborde and I. When these relationships are personal, they work. And we want to make sure these work. So the relationship is between the universities, but they're also formally between the tribes. Because in the end, the tribes must own the relationships.
It's this amazing bringing together of First Nations and Māori to try to advance communities both in Aotearoa, New Zealand and here on Turtle Island in Canada.
I believe just the meeting is critically important. And then once the socializing happens, then you're starting to think, how can we begin to work together? What's in common for us? The language, the food, the stories, all of those things will bind us together into the future.
Kia maura, ki te mana motu ake me te aroha. Kia maura, ki te mana motu ake me te aroha. He, ia, ie.
We've learned a couple of things in our years at the Tulo Center. What we've learned is that students learn from each other way better than they learn from us. And so we bring together two groups of students that have different perspectives, different ideas, but solving the same problem, and this problem is the same. How do we move from a state of colonialism to a state of economic self-determination?
We've got a word we say is mātauranga, and that's sort of our knowledge. And it's different to Western science, but the First Nations people here, they've got their own mātauranga, and you can't just get that from anybody. That's their lived experience and then it's passed down. So yeah, keen to tap into that.
You're not alone. It didn't just happen to First Nations people here. It happened to Ngaitahu in New Zealand as Indigenous people from there. It's happening all over, so you don't feel alone and you feel empowered because you just know like there's other people going through it and navigating it and being successful, so we can learn from each other.
We're exploring opportunities to assert jurisdiction, tino rangatiratanga, as we call it, sovereignty perhaps to others, to bolster our economic power in our rohe o takiwa.
Being in this classroom and learning from each other on how to build back our economies to regain our independence and self-determination, I mean, it has to be the end goal.
We do have common goals, common needs, common objectives, and I think we've learned a lot from each other.
Our students and students that have come here are incredible. They're curious, they're humble, they're enthusiastic, they're innovative, they're applying knowledge from one side to the other instantly. So the things we hoped would be achieved are being achieved right away.
This has been something that, a partnership that has evolved over the last at least decade. And we decided to formalize it through the two universities, the signing of the MOUs between Thompson River University and the University of Canterbury. To mark occasions like this, you need many witnesses.
I've come to admire Tamari's tenacity and his vision and the people that he works for.
We were completely inspired. We were inspired by just the energy.
Education is both a tool and a weapon. And for many years, Indigenous people throughout the world have lived with the fact that education was used as a weapon against us. And this evening that you're witnessing changes all of that. Yes, there have been many, many strides over the lifetime I've been doing this. But to me, this is one of the most important.
How much work went into this? Like, how did we get here? Like, think of the struggle of the last 50 years in Canada and the struggle in, the last 50 years in New Zealand to get to this point.
2013, I saw Manny and Mike in Montana. They had a program, really an interesting program. So we went home and implemented their program, your program. It's real, it implements tribal community growth, not with cash, but by acting as a people in the community. That's why this course is so important. It's real, it happens, we know how to do it.
Art is a reflection of your culture and your thinking. The ledger art about the work that we do with the Naitahu took quite a bit of thinking. How do you encapsulate the working relationship in one piece of paper? It's all about the heavens and the earth and everything between us. On the top is the North Star, the grandfather star that helped the indigenous people from North America to find our way throughout all of Turtle Island. Below it is the Big Dipper. Below that is the canoe. And below that is the waka, along with the Southern Cross. It is with great honor that I present this to my good friend, Tamari.
That's enough emotion from me tonight. That's all you're going to see. Repress all the rest. But from all of our village, stunning night. Thank you. What this really means is we're going to make it work. Good.
The Powwow Arbor is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. And what better way to celebrate that by having our guests from Naitahu come and be honored by my community for their visit here to Kamloops. The powwow is a very important cultural touchstone. It's a display of our culture. It's a display of intertribal culture. It's a display of the ever-evolving culture of Native peoples of the Americas.
Separate adherence and climb to our mountains and to look at you all. So kakarana te mātou ki kamata waka āwha. We call to our ancestral canoe of gods. Kia whakatau I te pūtaka to Kamloops to anchor themselves in your river. Kia here ai ka mātou perina and ki tō maunga teitei to tie ourselves to our ancestral mountains.
It's an honor to have my community honor my brethren from the Naitahu, and it just makes me tingle, especially Tamari doing his honoring of our people, Paulette singing one of the most beautiful and powerful songs honoring our ties together, and it just symbolizes our important work that we have to accomplish.